First story. OP's coworker forced herself onto OP and accused him of saying her to their company after he rejected her. Now, his delusional wife took her side and believes OP really sought her because she is young. OP is devastated that his male coworker believed him, but not his wife of 18 years. I am 46, have been married to my wife, Heather F., 45, for 18 years. We have 2 kids, 16F and 14M. We work for the same company, but in different departments. She works on a different floor of our building. We recently hired a new employee, Sarah F., 30. I helped her a lot with her training and even prepared a guide for her so she could catch up on the new role quickly. I told her she could drop by anytime if she had a question. She kept coming to my desk to chit-chat. Even my coworker, Chris, who shares an office with me, noticed. I thought she was new and lonely, so not a big deal. She asked me to go out for lunch with her. I laughed and joked, asking if Chris wanted to join us for lunch. Then Sarah looked at me and said no. She meant just for us to talk. Plus, she wanted to buy me lunch because I had been so nice to her. Chris gave me a look. I told her she didn't have to, and that I was just doing my job. She insisted, and I agreed. During lunch, she started rubbing my hand. I moved my hand and changed the topic to my wife, bringing her up repeatedly. She eventually said she found me attractive and wanted to be more than friends, suggesting we start with friends with benefits and see where it goes. She said she thought I wasn't happy in my marriage because I was having lunch with her and laughing, while she never saw me having lunch with my wife. I told her I was married and wanted to keep our friendship professional. She didn't like my reply and became quiet. I apologized, but she said it was all good. I paid the bill for both of us since it was so awkward, and we went back to work. I received a letter from HR telling me they needed to talk to me because Sarah filed a complaint. She said I had asked her out for lunch, been inappropriate and handsy, and even pressured her to have sex with me, but she left. I was floored. Luckily, my coworker Chris can confirm my side of the story. I immediately told my wife the whole thing, and she got furious at me. She said she believed Sarah's side because she stood by the victim. I told her Sarah was lying. Chris can confirm she invited me. Also, I wasn't inappropriate. I didn't touch her and turned her down. My wife rolled her eyes and said Sarah is a gorgeous woman much younger than me, implying I took advantage of her. I was so annoyed. I have always been faithful to her. How could she possibly think of me like this? Luckily, the HR issue was resolved, and I just have to do some training. I asked to move to another team, so I won't be working with Sarah anymore. Am I the arsehole for resenting my wife for not believing my side? For taking her side without any proof? I have basically barely talked to my wife since the incident. Comments. Matatakakiba. This will get lost in the sea of comments, but I'm wondering if the restaurant has a video recording of the dining area. You could prove you're telling the truth really quickly with a recording of her getting handsy and you pulling away. OP, I'm going to check with the restaurant. It's a small cafe or restaurant within walking distance of our office. Cattershaders. Speaking of intel, I wonder what her behavior and performance were like at her previous jobs. The fact she perused you and then reported false accusations to HR this quickly into a new job suggests a level of diabolical confidence, IMO, or reckless immaturity, I guess. Regardless, something ain't right, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was some kind of mo for her. I don't know how you could safely investigate her past, but something to think about. Certain thought 531. NTA, she was attracted to you, made her move, and failed. Then she retaliated and made the first move to cover herself before you could do anything. Also, I'd question my marriage if I were you. If your own spouse can't trust you, then she's not a partner. Narful the Garthak. You weren't exactly smart about accepting lunch. Yes, there is a double standard, and it sucks. It also stinks that now your reputation will suffer at work, because there are people who won't believe the truth just because. It stinks that your wife sees you as a possible predator. You should definitely question your marriage, and maybe do some counseling to see if this can be fixed, or if the marriage needs to end. You should also file a complaint with HR, and see about getting this woman moved to a different depth, or letting go. You might not be the only person she tries this with. Judgment. NTA. Update. 1 day later. Quick update. I talked to my wife last night, and she said, I really don't buy it that a younger, good-looking employee comes onto you. I asked her, have I ever been inappropriate with any woman? Have I ever been handsy? She said, no, but you joke around a lot, so you probably made some dumb jokes or something and offended her. I swear, you are autistic. You can't even get basic social cues. As for being handsy, who knows? I lost it, I said. Who knows? You should know. I expected more from you. She rolled her eyes and went to sleep. As for HR, it was my request to change teams. I can't work with Sarah or see her every day. I'm so tempted to yell at her and say, "What is wrong with you?" Neither of us got fired since there was no evidence. So HR just gave me the talk. I have no idea if Sarah has to do the training or what happened to her. I went to the restaurant to see if there was footage, but the owner wasn't there. I'll try again today. My mental health is a mess. My coworker, Chris, suggested that I take time off to talk to a therapist and a lawyer. I might do that. Comments. Mac Zaddy. Wow. Your wife sucks. I really hope the restaurant has video footage they can share with you. OP. My life does stink. I went from happily married with a good job to office creep. And who is this person I'm married to? If she thinks I'm too stupid, too ugly, and don't respect women, why are we still married? Firecracker 048. I'd bring the hammer to HR. They were willing to take action against you for words. But when you have witnesses, they're trying to sweep it under the rug. Threaten to sue and demand a written, public apology from Sarah. Honestly, with you, wife, that's different. Good luck with that. Philosopher 48882. Take Chris's advice. Talk to a lawyer to sue Sarah and file for divorce. Your wife has zero respect for you. Manufacturer 6E126. Yep, I second that. The only one who is on your side is Chris, and you neither sleep nor live with him. Cheers up, mate, and listen to the only one on your side. OP. He is a middle-aged like me divorced guy, and was joking that we should move in together and make a male version of Golden Girls divorced dads and raise the kids together. Cattershaders. The Golden Guys boys. I like it. Pool, old school arcade room, and entertainment room. It sounds like the streets ahead of living with your disrespectful and cruel wife. Find your inner Blanche and live it up. Update. Need support. How did you know it was time to end the marriage? Hello friends, I posted in another thread. But I'm going through horrible times. I can't live with a woman who constantly belittles me. Part of me feels guilty for leaving because I have 2 kids. How do you know it's time to end it? I'm just wondering if my marriage is salvageable. Thanks. Comments. Tragic addiction. It's time to leave when you have exhausted all other possibilities. That means you have read some good relationship books together. You have tried to use a marriage counselor to fix the issues you have not a vent session. Cut that SHT off if all it becomes is her venting. You have tried approaching things in different ways, and nothing changes. Then you can leave without having that nagging doubt in the back of your head that you should have done more. And when your kids ask you why, you can actually tell them you tried everything to make it work. You could even do a lie detector. If she agrees that you pass, she apologizes and moves on from this. OP. My wife thinks marriage counseling is for men. So hard no on that. I have tried to be more understanding, but she never even acknowledged it. I don't even know what to do anymore. I gave up on SX because she turned me down every single time. I planned date nights, or even date nights at home. I'm a pretty decent cook, and do all the cooking anyways, so not a big deal, and still didn't even get a thank you. I gave up. I stopped trying, and now she yells that I'm so stupid and will never do anything for her. Tragic addiction. Then it's sitting down and talking about what you both want out of a relationship, and what isn't being met right now, in a calm, non-blaming way. If she doesn't want marriage counseling, what does she want? If she doesn't trust you, what will make her do that? Ask what she needs in specific ways. And if she doesn't want to work on it, ask if she wants to divorce. Because you are both obviously miserable. OP. She thinks things are fine the way they are. She thinks I need to work on myself to be more professional and less of an autistic goofball. Second story. I found out my fiance's cousin is my one-night stand after seeing her son, who is a carbon copy of me. My fiancé says she is in a 10-year happy marriage. So did she cheat with me? Should I expose her, potentially ruining kids' life forever? Or is it my imagination? My fiancée, Sarah, and I have been together for 3 years. She's actually my first serious girlfriend since middle school. I will honestly admit, I've been a complete piece of SHT with women for most of my teens and 20s and pretty much used women. I'm saying all this to explain how promiscuous I was in the past. Sarah knows about my past, and she's grown to accept it. We met at work, and she hated me because she saw right through me. After pursuing her for close to a year, she finally agreed to a date, and the rest is history. We've been living together for 2 years now, and I've grown incredibly close to her parents too. She also loves my family. The past 3 years have been the best of my life, and I'm so excited to spend the rest of my life with her. This weekend, her cousin and her family are in town. She's really close with her cousin Lauren Miracle. I haven't met her yet. I was always busy for one reason or another the few times she's visited in the last 3 years. So I finally met Lauren and her husband for dinner at Sarah's parents' place. She immediately stares at me, a bit wide-eyed, and I can't help but think she looks familiar. We're all being introduced to each other, and Lauren, for the most part, seems to be acting normally. But she's still staring at me whenever she can. Sarah's parents then come in with Lauren's little boy, who's 5 years old. I'm looking at this kid and Lauren, and the only thing I can think of is that this boy looks like a carbon copy of me at his age with some Lauren mixed in. I'm suddenly starting to remember that I took Lauren home from a bar close to 6 years ago. And I also remember convincing her not to use protection after I showed her my blood work. I'm just a sweaty, nervous mess for the rest of dinner. And I think Lauren realized from how she looked at me and the boy that maybe I realized too. And an even more effed up part. I think Lauren was visiting Sarah the weekend I took her home. They probably had a girls' night out that weekend with their friends, and I took Lauren home. So Sarah was probably at the same bar that night. Sarah asked me if I was okay, and I just told her I wasn't feeling well. I didn't go to work yesterday or today, and just took sick days. I don't know what the F to do. Lauren obviously isn't saying anything. I have no clue if she was married at the time, and I don't want to ask Sarah because I don't want her to get suspicious about me asking. I don't even know how I feel about possibly being a father. I'm 95% sure this kid is mine. He looked nothing like a husband. Do I just shut up? I never cheated on Sarah, obviously, but she knows how much of a player I was, and it took her a while to get past my number. I don't know how she'd react if she knew I knocked up her cousin years before knowing her. This is vain and superficial about Sarah, and I love her to death. But she absolutely hates it if something is considered trashy or low class. I honestly think it's possible she'd leave me if I knocked up her cousin. I can't lose her. She's literally the best thing that's ever happened to me. Mixed responses from the community that seem a little divided by gender. The overall impression is, without wanting to make any sweeping judgments, that men mostly seem to advise him to just shut up about it. While some recommended he talk to Lauren first and find out if it actually is his kid. The female first responders seemed more pro coming clean and definitely talking to Sarah first, as keeping it a secret or talking to Lauren would be a breach of trust that would probably be worse than knocking up an unknown woman years before he met her. Especially since OP's foremost goal is to keep Sarah. My only goal is keeping Sarah. Honestly, in my state of mind the last few days, I don't care about anything else. My ideal situation is that Sarah doesn't leave me. That's all that matters, and I'll do anything to make sure she stays. I don't know how I feel about the kid. He seemed happy with his parents. They live several states away. Sarah wants kids in the future, maybe 3-4 years. I searched Sarah's calendar for the kid's birthday, and the timing worked out. Update. After 3 days of staying at home and feeling sick to my stomach with nervousness about this, I finally told Sarah late last night after my last post. Thank you so much, you own Crew 3D394, because that post gave me the push to spill my guts. As embarrassing as it is, I cried from beginning to end, telling Sarah and pretty much telling her I don't want to live without her. She held my hands in bed and patiently listened about how I recognized Lauren, remembered our night, and how seeing that kid mentally broke me because I saw my future with Sarah jeopardized as soon as I saw him. She told me she's upset. I didn't tell her as soon as we left her parents' place that I would never keep something like this from her again. But she understood I was scared. She said she's not leaving me because I never betrayed her in the last 3 years we've been together. And we'll figure this out too. And she said she'll reach out to Lauren herself and figure out what's going on, because she's been with her husband for 10 years now. And if she's my one-night stand from years ago, she definitely cheated. We then felt even more uncomfortable about the types of things I've done in the past and wanted to know if there were any more surprises she needed to be ready for. She said she knows I was promiscuous and a bit of a reckless idiot. But we kind of swept everything under the rug when we got together because we both agreed we wanted a fresh start. And after this fiasco, that might have been a bad idea. So she wants to know everything in detail now. But we can have that talk another time. I don't feel great about this, but I'll deal with this hurdle when it comes up. Sarah has been home with me trying to get in touch with Lauren since morning and has been getting completely stonewalled. Finally, Lauren texted her, "Please just let it go." Sarah asked her again if they could just have a quick chat or even if text is okay. But Lauren insisted to just let it go, please. I'm guessing Lauren realized I told Sarah everything. We don't know how to proceed from here on out. We're deciding to just respect her wishes and not pursue this further. Lauren also just changed her response to our wedding invitation to a no-show. Sarah is kind of upset by this, but honestly, I'm fine with this outcome. We always planned to leave the US in a few years anyway. I got a lot of messages asking me to just shut up, and I was honestly ready to go that route. But I think the worry was actually physically making me sick. Anyway, thanks to everyone for the advice. It is much appreciated. Again, there were very mixed reactions in the comments, which mostly seemed to center around whether OP had the moral obligation to come clean to the child's father to find out if he knows he's raising another man's child. A lot of people told him that he absolutely had to tell the father. But the comments that most seemed to resonate with OP, at least, those were the ones he replied to, were the ones that told him not to mess up the kid's life and family. Redditor 1. Now you are thinking about this correctly. What is best for everyone involved? You have competing moral imperatives here. The right of the father to know the truth and the well-being of the child, not in the sense that you are responsible for the kid, but in the sense that you know your choice will affect the kid. I do not know what is right to do here, but you are not wrong to think that the kid is having a better life if you never say anything as a relevant consideration. Does it outweigh the husband's right to know? Not sure. But ignore everyone telling you. This is such an obvious decision because the father's right to know is clearly the only relevant factor, and he is that kid's father, although he would also have the right to stop being so if he found out the truth. The best case scenario for the kid is that no one else ever finds out. Trying to achieve the best case scenario is a reasonable option. OP, thank you for your post. This is how we're trying to look at it too. Terrible situation, but we are trying to make our decision with the kid's best interest in mind. Redditor 2. You will drop a nuclear bomb and literally a life-defining moment on this kid if you ever bring this up to the husband. Don't listen to any of these posts telling you to do this. It's beyond selfish and moronic. In fact, it will cause a complete family implosion and an extended family implosion too. Sarah's parents will never look at you the same. The last thing you need is to expose all of this over a hunch that you think this child is yours. Reddit seems really interested in you blowing up multiple families and a kid's life over a hunch. I'm going to break it down for you. You don't know that you're the father. You are just thinking you might be. In reality, you don't know that yet. This is 100% on Lauren. You did your part. Sarah now knows. There's no secret between you, and she can use this information however she sees fit. Lauren's relationship with her child is her business. Maybe she feels she needs to find out, or maybe she doesn't. It's not your role to interject. You are not this kid, Dad. You don't even know him. Reddit is giving you horrendous advice. Don't take it. Can you imagine if you brought this up to her husband? He leaves because he thinks you're telling the truth. And the kid is shattered because Dad isn't in his life anymore, not to mention Sarah's family hates you for this. Only for it to come out later that you are not the father. OP, you did the right thing by telling Sarah. Lauren wants to bury the hatchet. And if Sarah wants to do this as well, then let it be. Do not confront anyone over this. You don't have all the facts even though you think you do. All you know right now is that Lauren cheated on her husband with you roughly 6 years ago. What you don't know is if that child is yours. Don't assume that you do. OP. This is how Sarah and I are seeing the situation too. OP. Indulging in a bit of wishful thinking. And honestly, maybe it's possible Lauren's husband knows she strayed. They moved past it, and she doesn't want to revisit it. She didn't really want to talk to us, so we don't know. I'm trying to move past this situation without hurting anyone. Final words from OP. I agree the situation is messed up, and I would like to know if my partner ever cheated. But the fact of the matter is that this will likely destroy an otherwise happy family. Both Lauren and her husband are incredibly successful in their fields, live in an affluent area, and can provide the best life for the kid. While Sarah and I are still building our careers and about to begin our own lives. And people have been asking whether I care about the kid. Yes, of course I do. I saw myself when I saw him. But I don't even know him. I'm okay with not being in his life. And if I'm the future, he somehow finds out and decides to find me. We can deal with it then. But right now I'm fine staying at a distance, seeing him through Facebook pictures, and starting my life with Sarah. I hope that didn't come off as heartless, but I'm truly thinking about what's best for him. Edit. Just because it has come up a couple of times in the comments. Here is OP's explanation of blood work and BC. I didn't pressure her. I requested it, pulled up my phone, and showed her my latest blood work. Medical labs email you your results these days. She said she was clean too, and that's it. I was hugely irresponsible and stupid on my part, but I was a different person back then. Third story. Parents controlled every bit of OP's life for the past 27 years. Finally, OP had enough, set the record straight, and went to live his own life. This is a long post, and I apologize. I 27M have a really good relationship with my mom F54 and my dad M55. I am so thankful for them, and I would not be where I am if it wasn't for them. While all of this is good and heartfelt, I still feel like my parents are trying to control my decisions. It's been like this all of my life. From wanting to know where I am constantly to who I'm hanging out with, even the girls that I've dated. They always nitpick at everything. They've raised me right and know that I'll think carefully, but they still choose to slightly criticize. It's really taken a toll on my self-esteem and self-confidence. When I was still living under their roof, I would talk to my parents about the possibility of buying or renting a place of my own. I wanted some experience with living by myself and some privacy. Every time I would bring it up, they would always be hesitant about it. I was financially stable, and I could handle living on my own, still am. Me not being at home was a difficult challenge for my parents when I went off to college, especially for my dad. Even though my college was 25 minutes away from home. Last year, I moved away for work, which was the first time I've been away from home. My mom was a little understanding, but my dad did not like it at first. He did not like the fact that I was so far away from home. Where I live currently is about 2 hours away from my parents. Since then, a lot has developed. I love my job. I have made a good supportive group of friends that have the same beliefs as me, and that I trust. I've regained some of my self-esteem. I'm more confident, and I am in a committed relationship with the girl of my dreams almost in a year. Recently, I had a call with my folks with the usual, "How have things been?" and all of that. My dad asked me when I planned on moving back home. I didn't really know what to say, so I just said, "I'm not sure, Dad." After we hung up, I just had to think for a second. I might be overreacting, but I love the place that I'm at right now, and I don't see anything changing for a while. I don't want my relationship with my parents to get ruined, but at the same time, they should respect my decisions and my feelings without trying to micromanage my life. The baby bird leaves the nest. It doesn't come back to it. AITA for wanting more space. Relevant comments. Commenter. NTA. It sounds like they're having issues cutting the umbilical cord. OP is doing right and honoring his parents by becoming an independent adult. OP, I totally agree. The thing is, my parents are afraid of losing that bond that we've had for so long. They need to know that they're not losing anything. They just need to know that it's not okay to still be bossing around their 27-year-old son. Commenter. NTA. But perhaps you could invite him over to your place so that he can get an idea about why it is that you enjoy your new home. It is a good opportunity to see you in action. It could also psychologically help him grasp the fact that you are a grown person who is independent. OP. The thing is that he has been to my place, and he's seen what I've done. He just feels more comfortable if I move back to my hometown. Commenter. NTA. It is natural to want to move on from the nest and have your own life. You are happy, healthy, and thriving on your own. Your parents need to accept that your relationship dynamic has changed and won't go back. As for it affecting your relationship with them, it is inevitable and ultimately up to them. At this point, they have two options: accept the change and adapt to having you in their life in a different grown adult way. Or they lose you forever and end up with no relationship with you at all. I would have a conversation with them about it. Explain your side and say that it is not going to change. It is important to be firm and clear on this point. After that, give them some time, and they will eventually come around. OP, this is it. This has been on my mind for a hot minute. I'm wanting to talk to my folks about this issue. The thing that I am afraid of is that if the conversation that we have goes south, we might not recover from it. OP is voted NTA. Update post. 9.5 months later. Hello people of Reddit. If any of you are interested, a year ago, I posted on Reddit asking for advice about my parents M55 and F54, wanting me M27 to move back to our hometown. Well, a lot has happened in the past year. I wanted to say thank you to anyone who commented on my last post. All of the advice was welcomed and greatly appreciated. Around Thanksgiving of 2023, I sat both of my parents down to discuss my future plans. I told them that it was my life to live, and if I didn't want to move back, then I didn't have to move back. Nothing was changing. They weren't going to lose me as their son, as I still care for them, love them, and adore them. This was sort of a reality check for both of my parents. They apologized for being so controlling of that aspect of my life. My mom even started to cry. They told me that it was difficult to see me move out after being so involved with their lives over the past 26 years. At the end of this discussion, we hugged it out. And nothing negative has come out of this, which was what I was afraid of in the first place. I still love my job. I still love my friends. And I'm still with my GF 2 years in August, whom I am going to happily pop the question to this fall. Cheers, everyone. I know some of y'all want spicy updates when it comes to these stories, but that just won't do. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.